Hello everyone. Hope everyone is having a good time at the summit. So I'll be talking about quotas in OpenStack, present and future for quotas and OpenStack. So about myself, so I'm Vilobh. I work for OpenStack at Yahoo. I'm part of the development team for OpenStack at Yahoo. I'm one of the Magnum core contributors. Magnum is container as a service. Then I introduced nested quota to OpenStack, and so Cinder was the first project to use nested quotas, and I've contributed to it. I'm leading efforts for cross-project quota library, which is known as Delimiter. So what to expect in this talk? So state of quota across different OpenStack projects, how quota management is done, how quota enforcement is done across different projects. Then hierarchical multi-tenancy and nested quota. So OpenStack have support for hierarchical multi-tenancy since Juno, but just having support for hierarchical multi-tenancy doesn't solve most of the use cases. You need to have a way to enforce that quota, and that quota is enforced through nested quota. And then I'll be covering the reseller use case, that is how to sell a piece of your cloud, how to make your private cloud behave as if it is a public cloud. Then the final piece that I'll be covering is Delimiter, which is the cross-project quota library, which is aimed for Newton. So what is quota? First of all, let's get some basics done. So what is quota? Quota helps to enforce restriction on resource consumption. Like every project has different set of resources. So we will get into that in next slide. But first of all, let's understand why quotas are important. Quotas are important because they are crucial to keep track of resource limits. So every cloud is built of set of resources. For Nova, you might be interested in how much RAM is consumed, how much CPU is consumed, how much disk is consumed. For Neutron, you might be interested in how many ports are used. And for Cinder, how many volumes are used, snapshots. So it's crucial for keeping track of resource limits. Most of the billings in public or private clouds is based off quota. So it has monetary value associated with it, because you don't want some users to consume all of the resources in your cloud, or some project to consume all of the resources in your cloud, and the other projects will starve. So that's a big no-no, and what you want to do is a fair distribution amongst projects depending on how they have been configured to consume the resources. So the current status of OpenStack and the projects and what resources they manage. So Nova manages mostly CPU, memory, disk, and instances. So we have quotas on number of CPU, how much amount of memory is used, disk, and number of instances. For Cinder, we have quota on number of volumes, number of snapshot, number of gigabytes that is consumed on the disk or any remote storage that you have. On Neutron, we have port subnet network. So if you see these three components, that is Nova, Cinder, Neutron, form the backbone of infrastructure as a service, and other two components, which are Magnum and Trove, are more of a consumer of an IS layer. By consumer, you mean that Magnum, the way Magnum works is Magnum talks to Heat, and Heat does the orchestration depending on what, like, you want to run containers on some VM or some BM, and that can be provided by Nova if it is a VM, or BM can be provided by Ironic. And Trove also, in order to get started, needs resources from Nova, Cinder, and Neutron. So these two services are more of a consumer of the infrastructure as a service, and they also have the concept of quota. Let's say in Magnum, you have the concept of quota depending on how many bays you want to create in Magnum. So bay is nothing but a container or a logical grouping of things in Magnum. So let's look at the state of quota across different projects. So as you can see in the picture, the state of quota right now is not that pleasing, and it is one of the top concerns in every dev or any ops summit, and people keep on raising concerns about some concurrency issues, or they don't see a consistent state of resources being used and what has been promised and what has been configured as opposed to what is actually consumed. This problem becomes more severe if you are in a huge scale where you have to boot multiple VMs or multiple instances and deletion happens at the same time. So there are problems related to refreshing of quotas and how do I reset in incorrect quota count. So if you are an admin or user or a developer, you might be running into these problems day in and day out, and this might be nothing new to you. So fixing quotas is kind of important because, as I said, like it's a top concern in every DevOps summit to get it right, and it has a monetary value also associated with it. So let's get more in depth of hierarchical multi-tenancy and nested quota. So first of all, let's understand what multi-tenancy brings to you. Is multi-tenancy allows your application or allows your service to consume resources from the same pool. Like if you see on the left side, you have single tenant application where every client has a separate set of database. But in case of multi-tenant architecture, which OpenStack is, you have multiple clients, but you consume from the same provider, which is, in this case, it happens to be the same DB, right? So what OpenStack provides is OpenStack has more of a flat hierarchy, and OpenStack is still not good enough to consume hierarchical components. But if you see in real world, most of the topologies are hierarchical in nature. So if you see for company X, it might have two divisions like search and mail. And in search also, it can have a further classification as desktop search and mobile search. In mail, it might have like web mail, right? So the present model in OpenStack is more of a flat model. So your cloud administrator is doing all the management of quotas across different projects. So he is the single point of failure. If he is overburdened with all the requests from different projects regarding quota enhancements, or I'm running out of quota, please increase my quota, or I need more quota and fix my quota problems. So he is the single point of failure, and his life is kind of miserable because of multiple requests coming from different projects. So if we see the previous slide, and in this slide, I've mapped this into a flat model where you have all the projects at the same level. But where we want to go to is present and future is the hierarchical model. That is, you have cloud administrator, and then you have search, mail, finance, and then let's say search is further classified into web search, mobile search, and mail into web mail. So with hierarchical model, how this model changes is like you have a cloud administrator, which is the whole and soul for your company, and he delegates the resources to search admin. So in this search project, you have a search admin, which is responsible for managing quota for any of its children. So in this case, the children for search are web search and mobile search. In case of mail, mail admin will manage the quota for webmail, right? And similar for finance. So what happens in hierarchical model is like if web search, any user or any project in web search, let's say there are dev and QE teams in web search, they want to ask for more quota, they directly go to the search admin rather than talking every time to the cloud administrator. So you have a hierarchy and you don't keep on disturbing, or the cloud administrator need not be a single point of contact every time, right? So then the search admin, if even the search admin runs out of quota, he will talk to the cloud administrator. And similarly for the mobile one, and also for the webmail, if he runs out of quota, he'll call to talk to mail admin, and he or she will eventually talk to the cloud administrator, right? So future, reseller concept. What reseller does is it allows not only to hand over your quota, but also the users from your project to something outside, right? So if you can see the webmail, which is highlighted, and or finance, which is highlighted in blue, the cloud administrator can resell quota to finance. So let's say you have your OpenStack cloud setup and you want to resell a piece of your cloud to an upcoming startup. So what you can do is you not only resell some resources, but also some users and properties associated with that, right? So what you have to do is cloud administrator, it's more of a role-based thing. So cloud administrator is the one who has role for creating and managing all the resources, and the project which are at the same level, that is in case of web search or mobile search, they are only able to read the quota values, they are not able to update. So only the admin will be able to update the values, right? So now again, why cross-project quotas? So it's crucial to keep track of resource limits, first of all. We all agree, and as we have seen in previous slides. And in its current state, in OpenStack, every project has its own way of enforcing quotas, and which happen to be more or not in a similar fashion. So similar pattern for quota code in projects using quota. So there's a lot of duplication of efforts, and there's a lot of time consumed in developing quota features. So any project who wants to make use of quota, they will have to dedicate a set of people or plan something, and then have a dedicated project in the cycle to work on it, right? And also the current quota infrastructure is broken enough that it doesn't give concurrency and transactional semantics in a proper fashion, right? So this is what I've proposed, and we are working on it in Newton. So we have folks from IBM, HP, CERN, and many other companies collaborating on this. So what Delimiter will do is, Delimiter will be a library. It won't be a service. We don't want to overburden the administrator with one more additional service and managing that. So it would be a library. Its role will be to enforce restriction on quota consumption. So it will not be responsible for rate limiting, because there are various other interesting libraries like repos from Rackspace which are very good at rate limiting, and we would restrict the scope or the focus to enforcing restriction on quota consumption in a transaction safe and providing better concurrency, right? Providing better concurrency as mean you see a consistent view of data every time, even if you have concurrent boots or you have sequential or serial boots, right? So then Delimiter will not maintain data for the resources. Every project, let's say Noah, will maintain the data for those respective projects. Why we have chosen this route? Because this becomes easier to do data migration, and even if there are any schema changes, Delimiter won't be responsible for taking care of that. So Delimiter won't have the concept of reservation. So reservation and quota usages are the tables which are common across every project, and these are more of a cache tables. And rather than that, what we decided that we will use more of actual usage based off, let's say, instances table or volumes, and we will fetch the details. Delimiter will understand both flat as well as nested hierarchies. So as OpenStack evolves, there will be more need for nested models, and Delimiter will take into consideration all the flat as well as nested hierarchy and the nested models. And then, so right now there is a thing that every company, let's say Yahoo has its own version of fixing quota stuff, and then CERN has its own way of fixing quota stuff, quota sync issues, and then Red Hat might have their own, or HP might have their own, IBM might have their own. So what we want to do is consolidate and have all these things at a common place, which will be Delimiter, and have that resolved in Delimiter. So thank you. We have a channel named OpenStack Quotas, and we also have meetings every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So you're more than welcome to contribute. And yeah, I'll take the questions offline maybe. So these are my contact details. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to help.